I will. Now the reason I'm talking to him specifically is because I'm responding to his YouTube as a business video, so bear with me here. Firstly, Will, I'd like to apologize for taking so long to respond to this video, but as a respected owl once told me in my childhood, better late than never. One quick thing before we get into the meat of the material, you call the revenue that YouTube and YouTube partners get royalties, which is not quite true because royalties are what you get for content that you created but is owned by someone else, like songs and books and movies, while what YouTube and YouTube partners get is just classified as ad revenue because even though YouTube has the same rights over your video as you do, you still technically own that video. See, if you read the terms of service, you would have known that. Shut up, annotation. Yes, now onto your point regarding thumbnails. Now, I said you didn't really like how YouTube kept thumbnail control only for partners, and I don't like that either, obviously, because I don't get to control my thumbnail, but I don't think it's going to change anytime soon because YouTube has an incentive for keeping it that way. You can probably figure out YouTube gets the most money from popular monetized videos, so when you got partners that have control over their thumbnails and control over their first impressions, you get partners getting people to watch content that would earn the site the most amount of money. That way a channel that's already pretty successful and bringing in money gets more control so that the site gets more revenue. That sounds pretty bad, but there's some good to it too, which I think you kind of mentioned as well. Good content is rewarded by leveling up to that partner status. You could say that you have to prove your worth to get that coveted control over your thumbnail, so ideally you're motivated to make better content. Ideally. I also mentioned that you think politics and that kind of stuff is negatively affected when money is involved because companies don't want to be associated with strong opinions. And I agree with that to an extent. If you have strong and stubborn opinions and if you have this inflammatory, offensive, in-your-face attitude towards them, that's when you're at a disadvantage. Otherwise, I think you're not too bad off. Moderates and people with respectful attitudes, and I'm not saying they're the same thing, but that they're both in like the clear majority, tend to be less affected by this, especially if they foster like open discussion, rather in contrast to people who are like, here's my uncompromising opinion, and if you don't agree with me, you're an idiot. What I'm trying to say is that money being involved may in fact take some of the power away from those few extremists that always get all the attention and get more people to watch the more moderate stuff, which is not a bad thing at all, I'd say. And I don't think companies really get to decide where their ads are shown anyways, just Google's magic algorithmness that kind of puts ads in front of some videos. Now on your points regarding networks, I agree with that networks aren't wholly positive, but regardless of what we think, the reality of the situation is that networks are getting more and more prominent. When I went to VidCon, there was a lot of funding from Revision 3, Maker Studios, Machinima, and networks like that, and while they did help a lot with like making a better VidCon experience by providing for resources and stuff like that, it's not exactly the attitude I had in mind when I was walking around the expo hall looking at all these advertisements all in my face and everything, which was kind of annoying. At least they were creative with it. But really, it's not all the fault of the networks. Part of the reason the expo hall was that way because YouTube is also an avenue for independent businesses and studios to advertise and put content out on. And that just shows that even as a business, YouTube is so diverse. Its customers range from those giant studios to small vloggers like you and me, and we all ask for different services, whether it's money or fame or advertising or just belonging to the community. Problems crop up when it becomes too business-like, when behind YouTube the business we see Google the machine, like with the redesign to like Google Plus last year. And because YouTube services so many different types of customers, it's going to be pulled sometimes for the people with the most money. That's when good content gets compromised in the ways we've mentioned. I mean, you can call it an individual, like that one YouTuber you were talking about who posted 2 videos for one, but you can't call it the company that runs the system that easily because we're not on equal footing. I mean, it is a scary thought, but knowing the nature of the internet, I don't think we can underestimate the power of the community. I mean, if they totally sold out, they'd lose half the revenue anyway. In my opinion, as long as we're vigilant, as long as we speak out, YouTube the business is going to remain in service of YouTube the community, because for us both to exist, we must depend on each other. Until next time.